October 7th, 2020. Well, I've had several requests recently for a greenhouse tour and more information regarding the greenhouse. So I'm going to give you a quick tour now, and then at some point in the next couple days when I get a little bit more time, I'm going to go into a little bit more detail about greenhouse management and how you manage that environment as compared to your outside environment. It's a little more complex than most people think, and I think a lot of people tend to take it for granted, and I just want to dial you into a few more details about it. And anyway, this video is not about that. This is just a quick update tour, since I haven't actually done one in a while. This is the turmeric here, just cranking along. Most of the flowers that it was blooming are pretty much going by, but down here in the bottom we have new shoots growing everywhere. Now, hidden on the back side of this planter is some horseradish. This is one of the leaves from it. There's a bunch more up in there. Sorry, this is an awkward angle to get at. And back there is my mandarin tree, which I probably should get out into more light. It's doing okay. Needs a bigger planter and a little more dirt, some more root space. It's coming along pretty good. Navigate my way back out here. This is the lemon tree. I also have a little aloe vera in here, and this is a plant that my cousin Joe gave me a couple of years ago. He gave me a bunch of the roots for it. It's some sort of ornamental. I forget what it's called again. But it's a really interesting plant. Oh wow, and I just caught an awesome whiff of that lemon tree. We'll get to that in a sec. Anyway, the olive tree is doing really well, and lots of green growth on it. I'm going to come back in here and do some pruning. I'll be saving those olive leaves because they're super beneficial for circulatory health, for cholesterol, for heart health. They're antibacterial against like bad gut bacteria. Man, there's just so many awesome things that olive leaf is good for. A lot of people don't know this. This is a really cheap supplement you can take on a daily basis to improve your circulatory health, your heart health, and many other things. If you haven't seen it, I have a video about the benefits of olive leaf. I'll throw a card up here for you so you can find it easily. But go learn about it. It's awesome. People always ask me, why do you get olives off your olive tree? No. Why do you have an olive tree then? Because of the olive leaf. That's important. And don't get me wrong, I love olives. I'd love to get olives off this, but I'm not even sure that this variety, which was given to me by my mom, is an olive producing variety. But regardless, I wanted it for the olive leaf, and that's why. Alright, the lemon tree is really cranking along. I showed the other day in a video, I showed one of the big lemons I harvested off it. This is a Meyer lemon tree, and I caught a whiff of this flower when I was down by the lower part of the olive here, and oh man, it is so sweet. It's like perfume, only better. So it's flowering again, some more. Just to show you a couple more flowers on it here. I'm sure in the daytime when the vents are open, I haven't been paying attention, but I'm sure the honeybees are in here working those flowers as well. I had them in the greenhouse a couple of springs ago when this was in flower. It was the only thing that was in flower when they were out on their cleaning flights, and they were coming in and grabbing pollen and nectar off it, which was really awesome. Back at the greenhouse. There's honeybees flying all about and in and out. I think you can see. There's quite a few here in the corner trying to find their way out. But this is the really cool part. They're pollinating the lemon flowers in the greenhouse on this warm February day. Anyway, I'll give you a shot down here on the bottom. I apologize, things are a bit cramped in here right now. I got a little more organizing to do. And of course, every year these plants grow bigger, and my greenhouse isn't growing any bigger. I need a greenhouse plant. The greenhouse that grows itself. Anyway, a few good lemons there on the bottom. Another yellow one there that's almost completely ripe. A few smaller ones coming on. Various stages of ripening. Doing really well. The rosemary is doing fantastic in here. It's very happy with the light, heat, humidity environment in general. Of course, now that it's in the greenhouse, it's getting watered more regularly. Things tend to dry out pretty rapidly in the greenhouse, so when I'm in here, I tend to check water levels on everything pretty much every day or every other day, and ensure that they have good water, because it's really easy for that to flip the other way and things to dry out really quickly on you. We'll go into that a little bit more when I talk about greenhouse management in that video. The fig tree that my friend Bob gave me is just doing stellar. And actually, oh man, I think that might be the beginning of fig flowers coming on right there. I think it is. Oh, that's exciting. So again, thank you, Bob, for that. That is awesome. Come springtime, I'm sure I will be taking some cuttings off of that. I want a whole fig and lemon orchard in a greenhouse. Anyway, the lemon verbena in with that is doing well also, as is the holy basil, although that's pretty much going to seed at this point. And down underneath that, there's Red Empress of India nasturtiums. They're not in flower yet. They were planted fairly late, but they're taking off. And they'll be filling in. I forget what all else is in there. I know there's one or two other plants I snuck in there. Anyway, that's doing good. That chaya tree is massive and actually needs a bigger pot. I haven't gotten around to giving that more space yet, because I just don't know how I'm going to give it more space. What else? The other smaller Meyer lemons are doing well. Those also need to be potted up. Everything in here needs a good feed. My Texas tarragon I managed to save over the summer is hanging in there. I'm going to have to pot that up too, get that into some better soil and better care. This holy basil that I dug up from outside and brought in is cranking right along. I dropped some Hawaiian orange marigold seed in here, and also I think some sweet Thai and holy basil seed in here also, so that as this starts to mature and reach senescence, new stuff will be starting to grow up in here. At least that's the theory. This other rosemary is doing well despite a lot of abuse and being sort of, well, abusively trained, I guess you would say. But it's doing okay. Back behind that is that habanero pepper plant. That's doing okay too. Some nice red hot habaneros in there. We'll have to do some fall cooking in here. Not in here, but do some fall cooking soon. Ginger's all doing okay. Definitely doing much better since I started getting back in here and watering again. Summertime, it's just hard to divert attention to another of the 10 million things there are to do on a farm and homestead. But fortunately it's pretty resilient, and lots of new shoots coming on with that as well. So that propagation project is continuing in a positive direction. This hibiscus plant here is getting ready to go into flower. I showed this in a video the other day. My mom just gave this to me recently, which I'm excited about, because if you've never had hibiscus tea, it's really good if you ask me. A little hibiscus tea with some fresh, raw, local honey in it. Just banging. What else is going on in here? I got the stove lit up and it's starting to crank up. In fact, I got to throttle that back now before it gets too hot in here too fast. This is sweet Thai basil, the second round that I harvested, drying down enough so I can strip the seed off the stems, and then can do more processing to further refine, getting the seed out of the chaff later on when there's more time for that. I got a few of these tanks filled up using the foliar feed pump, including the thermal mass reservoir. We're not super cold at night yet. We're in the upper 40s. We've had some nights down in the 30s, and we have had a couple of frosts, but it is definitely time to have that little extra thermal buffer. So the tanks are full. At least those are. I've not brought the big tank back in yet, the big thermal mass tank. That had sort of a leak issue back in the spring. I have to do some diagnostics on that before I get too much further. This other ginger block here is doing really well. And unfortunately I got my handy dandy headlight on so you can see the big clumps of ginger in there. I may actually harvest a few pieces out of this year. But I tend to err on the side of keep propagating because I want to be able to harvest some every year and not deplete my propagation supply. And it's been several years to just get up to the amount that I have. This is that neglected coffee plant. I got to get back and do some pruning on that. Got a whole bunch of greenhouse work to do. I've just been trying to get through some other fall projects like getting cover crops in and you know, things like that, prepping for fall. What else is going on in here? This is another habanero pepper plant. That's doing pretty well. Yeah, excited that that's doing good. And over here is another rosemary. This is actually my mom's rosemary that she put back in my care. And yeah, it's still here and growing. What else? Sweet potatoes that I brought in are doing pretty well. I have had the darn chipmunks getting in here and scratching some of the soil out. That's always frustrating. Definitely have some end of season mosquitoes and other bugs kind of hanging out in here. Oh yeah, I almost forgot to mention the avocado. So the avocado has been through a couple of frosts. One was a pretty cold one, but it seems to come through okay. I've not been watering it very much lately, and I think that's why it's turning that lighter green color. In the base of this, even though I thought I had transplanted all the turmeric out, there's still a couple of plants growing in here. And hey, that's cool. Doesn't bother me. Extra turmeric will never hurt my feelings. So what I think I'm going to do in order to bring this in, because if I don't do some pruning, it basically takes up half the greenhouse. And half the greenhouse for a plant that hasn't produced any medicinal value for me or any food for me is not acceptable. So I think what I'm going to do is go back with the pruners and do a really heavy prune on this plant and basically take it down to a stalk, and then maybe I'll grow something I can train up it. And I'm sure it'll come back over the winter and continue to sprout and throw leaves out again. And then that way we can manage it and get it back out in the springtime next year maybe. Anyway, I think that's what I'm going to do. Yeah. And I don't know, I haven't really gotten around to cleaning up the this other bench yet. That's another thing on my list of things to do in order to get the greenhouse prepped and cleaned up and ready for the actual growing season in here. I think that kind of concludes everything that's going on here for the most part. In other videos I showed the drying sunflower seeds here, as well as corn and coneflower and stuff in the drying rack. The raspberry Pi that my friend Dave gave me is up and functional. Very nice to be able to listen to podcasts and music and all that, you know, live streams, all that kind of stuff while I'm out here working. That definitely increases my efficacy. But I have not gotten back in here and fixed these sensors yet. For some reason these sensors aren't logging correctly, and I don't know if that's attributed to the lightning strike that we took over the winter or what. I did get as far as tracing down that this 5-volt buck converter here is not putting out the 5.2 volts that it needs to put out anymore. It's down to like 5.0. So I'm going to trace that, double check, and make sure that those connections aren't just you know, smudged up or dirty, and then probably end up replacing that. Fortunately, those are pretty inexpensive. And I know after I got this one, I found the same model with LCD readout displays that showed voltage and amperage. So I think I'll probably, you know, for the extra $5 or whatever it is, probably take the upgrade. Then I'll have one that gives me a readout what we're actually producing. Battery is still dead in the greenhouse here. I need to replace that. I just don't have the funding for that right now, so it's just going to have to wait. So right now we're just running off regular power feed, which it's not great, but it's better than nothing. Anyway, I think that concludes an update in the greenhouse for now. I hope you found this interesting or informative. If you have any questions, don't be afraid to do so down below, and look forward to that video I'll be doing on greenhouse and greenhouse management. I'll be coming out with that soon. So thanks for watching the Farmacy Seeds Network. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if I've earned it. And thanks for watching the Farmacy Seeds Network.